Hey everybody, it's Conscious Medium Brandon Ross. Thanks so much for tuning in this intuition in action. And today we're coming off of the full moon eclipse here in Scorpio, which is about uncovering things. It's about recognizing our own ability to regenerate, to be able to come from, the depths of things and go through it instead of going around it. And it's a really important time for us spiritually and energetically. Um, and I will tell you that I went through the eclipse without making documentation of it. I just sat through it. I stayed in it. I was where I wanted to be, and I was going through the emotions I wanted to feel. So coming into the following day, after a little bit of limited sleep, because most of us stayed up to try and watch as much as we could, but more importantly, your body just gets fatigued, right? Well, I tuned in to listen to, one of kind of my old standbys, right? I'm a guy, so sports are my things. I'm a longtime Vikings and Twins fan. And about this time of the year, we're talking about how the Twins still have a half a shot and the Vikings have renewed spirit after however many years of making it to 4 Super Bowls and losing each one of them, having kicks go wide left, and then have Brett Favre throw to the only person that wasn't covered by an offensive player interception to ruin our chances. I digress. But I tuned in to kind of shut off my own spiritual mental brain just to give myself a break, right? And sports gives that for me and many other guys as well. Now, there's a key here that I just said that I want you to pick up on, what guys often do. I'm still a guy at the end of the day. I may carry crystals, I may still talk at the moon, and I carry and burn sage on a regular basis, but that masculine energy still reigns supreme, not only to be a dad, but then also to be the guy in the relationship, the guy at the moment. And self-care does include turning it off a little bit and focusing in on how the Twins are doing right now. It was interesting because I'm a longtime fan of this guy right here, Paul Allen. PA, as he's affectionately known to the Rubes up in Minneapolis. Being able to listen to internet radio is a beautiful thing because I've actually stayed up on my team in the last 7 or 8 years instead of just reading box scores or what have you. And Paul Allen, as an announcer, is one of those guys that actually makes the entire play come alive. He is the play-by-play announcer for the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm going to actually bring up one of his calls, and I don't care if it ends up getting blocked or scooped or whatever, is very much worth it, because this call was pretty much everything to every single Vikings fan a couple of years ago.
When they do that kind of stuff.
10 seconds to go. 24-23 Saints. Vikings at their own 39. It's third down. 3 receivers right, Thielen left. Marshawn Lattimore 12 yards from Adam. Case on a deep drop, steps up in the pocket. He'll fire to the right side. Caught by Diggs. Steve, oh my God! Oh my God! 30, no way! Are you kidding me? It's a Minneapolis miracle! Stephon Diggs and the Minnesota Vikings have walked off on the New Orleans Saints.
Just wanted to give you a little bit of insight that Paul Allen has become the voice of reason for Minnesota Vikings fans in that moment. He hosts a talk show every day from 9 to noon with Paul Allen. He brings in the Rubes. He has great producer teams. They really are synchronistic, not only to really kind of push Minnesota sports, but really kind of be the voice of reason. He's also somebody that really has a pulse on the health of the team. He talks open and honestly as to why a coaching scheme isn't working. He talks very open and honestly when a player is taking plays off and it's not what the team needs. He's not afraid to call out people, teams, coaches, and otherwise for the health of the team. He's a fan at the end of the day. That's why when I tuned in today and I really wanted to listen to, how the Vikings were doing, what's going on with the Wild, are they going to keep the options of the players in the offseason, and all that other good stuff, he brought on a guest that was really significant. He brought on Lindsay Young, who's a young staff writer. And when I say young, she's been with the team for about 7 years, 6-7 years. And she's really worked up through the ranks. Now, she does a series called Getting Open that is something that women reporters probably had to get used to in order to break into doing sports type work. It was kind of that feel good, that kind of human interest stories that she, would be tasked to write to get to know the players and really kind of understand it. Well, she sensed a trend, and she actually came up with a series called Getting Open. And I want to bring this up here. Well, actually, I'm going to leave this right here as I talk about this. Lindsay came on for a segment, as Paul Allen would often do, to the team, to the family of the Minnesota Vikings, to the family of Minnesota sports in general, to give credence and give platform to human interest stories. The stories that Lindsay started to tell were about mental health. They were about the struggle of a young tackle that in his going from his second to his third season, the year that you really put it all together, was diagnosed with a degenerative disease that he had to be treated for, took him off the field and pushed him into early retirement at his prime. Lindsay dug in deep with this story. And what she unveiled were things about mental health, depression, and understand how to cope with change of life. She also did a great segment with the current tailback, C.J. Ham, who's a hometown favorite, grew up in Duluth, came up through the ranks, got on the practice squad, earned his spot on the team, and is now a perennial Pro Bowler. He struggled with a stutter as he got into the league, and then he struggled with depression and bereavement as he lost his mother. Stay the course, CJ. The whole league looks up to you. Lindsay told the story on the other side of the fence, as she continues to highlight things such as mental health. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a guy, I wanted to tune in and hear that Kepler found his bat again, and he's hitting one home run every 8 at-bats again. He did it once. I can dream. But what she actually put the highlight on, and what Paul Allen allowed on his stage, was the conversation that needs to be had. Mental health is a struggling thing for all guys, for all people, really. But when we can highlight it for gentlemen so that then they can begin to understand that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to say things like, hey, I don't feel right. How do I feel better? I remember in the 2001-2002 Super Bowl, when the Raiders were playing the Tampa Bay Bucks. The night before the Super Bowl, their starting center for the Raiders, I think his last name is Robbins, went AWOL. He just went missing. He was not mentally prepared to be in the Super Bowl. He was falling apart. He was listening to his vices. The thing that I really liked about the upfront and open conversation between PA and Lindsay was how much they talked about the slippery slope that mental health becomes. The idea of bad behavior, the idea of addiction, the idea of shutting down and going the other way, the topic of suicide. They hit it head on in an arena of sports. When I got to work, I kind of sat down and said, well, I'm going to do an intuition piece. I'm going to go ahead and pull this together. I'm going to do one. I had a couple of topics in mind, intuition and action. I got a couple of ideas, but it was right in front of me. This should be called out and applauded because not only was it done on a talk show that is listened to hundreds of thousands of people, but it was also done in such a way that it spoke to the problem. It spoke to the idea that getting open is actually part of the process that many of us shut down. Now, I'm saying this as a medium, and I'm saying this to someone that has sat with the mothers of the sons that made the decision to take their own lives. I'm sitting here as a medium of sitting with a family whose father just couldn't take it anymore and decided to go in the other direction. I'm here to tell you that I have sat with people that could have made the difference in someone's life and felt the guilt that they didn't say or do something at the right time or the right place. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and quite frankly, every month should be Mental Health Awareness Month. As light workers, we need to begin to understand when to raise our hand and when to ask for help. Rule number 1, the people around you are not the enemy. Just because they challenge you and they encourage you, do yourself a favor and don't turn on them. Just let them know what your struggle is. The second thing is you're doing the work. As we come off this lunar eclipse, it is a literal spiritual dark night of the soul. What are you worth? What are you going through? How are you doing it and why are you doing it? What are your patterns? What are you breaking? How are you going to become better and be a better version of yourself? These are all real things and real topics of the conversation. I'm going to put in the links below Lindsay's work. It's really good. As a sports fan, you'll find something in it, but you don't have to be a sports fan to hear someone's story about how they face the demons of depression, about how they pick themselves up from the bootstraps of losing their mother in the middle of the best time of your life and overcoming a speech impediment. And then you realize that that speech impediment was actually the thing that made you the football player and person you are today. These are human interest stories, and you can find them everywhere. I'm bringing this up because I wanted to check out today. I wanted to just not do the work for a couple hours. I wanted to just listen to how this cornerback's going to be the next best thing, and this strategy is going to be good. And I'm always, always up for when the Packers do something silly. Sorry. My regards, Aaron Rodgers. But the dynamic that was in my face was the idea that mental health is truly associated to things like the eclipses, the Mercury retrogrades, the Jupiter going into Aries. It pushes the energy in a way to put things first and foremost and in the front of everything. Pay attention. This landed in my lap not by accident, but because it's good work. It was a good reminder to keep my head on straight and to remind others to do the same. Take a breather, hydrate, sleep, take a damn nap, for crying out loud. Let's normalize rest instead of performance, because if you do that, the performance will follow. A huge shout out to Paul Allen and Lindsay Young for the work that they did this morning. You're absolutely right in calling me out, and you did call me out when you said, oh yeah, you're probably tuning into this thinking you're going to listen to a sports show, but, end quote, this is pretty damn important because I really care about people, end quote, Paul Allen. Those words stuck with me this morning, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to tell you guys to remember to simply keep going. And Paul, we're waiting for the next great call. Hopefully it'll be to raise the Lombardi Trophy. And Lindsay, all of your gumption, I read people for a living, the work that you're doing, you are not only playing the hand that you've been dealt, but you are playing it masterfully. And as a guy that just tuned in wanting to hear sports, I heard exactly what I needed to hear. You need to keep going. Thank you guys so much for being part of my path. You're on my regular, and again, Skol. I'll see you guys soon. Keep going.